Hey everybody, my name is Teresa. I'm the experience director here at Val Cinema. With me, I have our wedding coordinator, Carol.
Hi guys.
We are going to go ahead and get started with our webinar series, How to Be a Bride in 10 Days. And today's episode is vendors, venues, and value. Oh my.
So we have the wedding planner, not to be confused with the day of coordinator. The planner literally plans the wedding with you. Of course, the venue, we will get into that in the next slide. Then your photographer, your videographer.
Fun fact, that's what we do, Val Cinema. Reach out to us. We'll talk soon.
The florist, baker, caterers, and servers. Bartenders are really important because you want to make sure that you have enough bartenders for guests. You are passionate about this. I'll let you take it from here. DJs.
I love a good DJ. Like, get a good DJ where people can hey, maybe that was too much. Maybe not. People want to dance now, especially after being cooped up after 14 months. But then you also want to hire an officiant. So this can be somebody at the church. If one of your friends could actually register to be an officiant online. You want to consider a calligrapher for your invitations. You know, you can really make your dress, like if you're in love with a dress and it's like too long or something like that, talk to your seamstress. She's going to help you. And then also you want to consider a good makeup artist and hairstylist.
This is the biggest one that people forget is the chauffeur and like transportation. How are you getting from point A to point B? How are your guests getting from point A to point B?
And then we have the night of suite. So after you're married, you know, party's over, where are you headed to? Just make sure you have arrangements for that night. The day of coordinator can be a friend. It can be somebody that you hire. It can be somebody who comes with the venue. But this day of coordinator literally gets all your ducks in a row for you the day of. And the last thing that you want to consider is the travel agency for your honeymoon.
How they make their income is from commissions of booking through them. So really, you're not paying anything extra for your honeymoon to go through an agent. If you are type A and you want to do it yourself, that's fine. I suggest places like Expedia package deals, Tripmaster, places like that. You get discounted rates for booking and packages. The first thing you should do is create your budget, but pick your non-negotiables. If you want live flowers, make sure you have enough in your florist budget to accommodate that. And you don't want to throw all of your money at the venue and then find out that you don't have enough for a baker because you didn't budget properly. First impressions are everything. Whenever you reach out to a vendor, if the communication is making you nervous, keep looking. Don't settle for the cheapest. Look for someone in your budget, someone you want to work with on your day of too. Make sure you check out the reviews. The reviews are a big telling sign. If you don't have a way to find these vendors, search hashtags on Instagram. That's how I found my photographer.
You guys can just hashtag Val Cinema and see what we got going on.
Make sure that you're booking for what you want, not for your budget. You have high expectations, book a vendor that can produce those results. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be saving money, but you're going to be upset on your wedding day because you're not going to get what you want.
Also, Pinterest. Create your dream wedding Pinterest board. You deserve it. Why not?
And whenever you're talking to them, don't feel pressured to book.
It's your day and it's your time. And if you need time to think about it, like honor that and honor that about you. And if they're pushy and you just don't feel that vibe, then move on to the next.
What?
Do not forget to tip your vendors.
There are some vendors that it is expected of you to tip. Delivery vendors, people who are dropping off the flowers for the day of. Transportation, hair and makeup artists work off of tips. Servers and caterers, bartenders also get a tip. Those are like the mandatory in their contracts. Like it's expected that you tip them.
Excellent.
There's other vendors that you're not expected. It's nice, but you need to make sure you have it in your budget that you can tip them.
And if you can't tip, then I would suggest writing a review, going onto their Instagram, tagging them in Instagram. Also, handwritten thank you letters are go above and beyond.
You see all those little Instagram posts going around every now and again, how to support small businesses. Really writing a review, making a post and tagging them goes a long way. So recap of the vendors. Make sure you're picking your non-negotiables, who you want to put the most money into. Keep it in your budget, but also look for someone who is in your style. Make sure to tip who's expecting a tip. And if you're feeling generous, you can go above and beyond.
So now we're gonna move on to the venues. Lots of V's going on, Carol.
Val Cinema.
That's a great V.
That's a great V.
So these are a list that Carol and I came up with. When you're researching a venue, what do you want? And the first thing that we saw was the vibe and the ambiance. And what style are you going for? What's the vibe? What's the theme? Then you also want to consider the cost. Does it fit in your budget? You can definitely find some budget-friendly places, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. You want to make sure that you have a rain plan.
Some of us, me, did not have a rain plan. So luckily I am grateful that I have a husband who was willing to get married in the rain, and we were soaking wet in all of our photos and videos.
So make sure you talk with your venue to see if you guys provide a tent.
Some venues charge like $1,000 for it. So make sure they have an inside, or if you're willing to pay the money for a tent, or if the tent's included. Capacity, definitely super important. How many can they hold safely? You want to make sure if in the event of emergency, they have enough equipment to handle so many people in their venue. Also, parking, speaking of safety and accessibility, we're going to get to that in a second. You want to make sure it's handicap accessible if you have guests who need that accommodation. Also, with capacity also comes minimums. I had a very, very tiny wedding. We had struggle finding a venue because we didn't meet the minimums. So if you're having a smaller wedding, you're going to have to look for a venue that has a minimum that matches your maximum.
Say that 3 times fast.
I can't.
Insurance, you want to make sure that everyone's accounted for. And then you want to consider your out-of-town guests too. Where are they staying? Do you need to contact a hotel and reserve a block? They're going out of their way to come and see you. You want to make some accommodations for them. So we have the 4 categories for venues. We have traditional, budget-friendly, unique, and then destination. So we're going to kind of touch on each one of these. So for the traditional venues, of course, the church. You have a hotel or a resort, a vineyard or a winery, a barn, or a bed and breakfast. Where did you get married, Carol?
I had a budget-friendly wedding. We got married actually at a state park, $25 to reserve the day. So it was super cheap.
So other budget-friendly weddings, of course, just going to town hall and doing your thing. If you want to do a nightclub or a lounge, also the beach. If you know somebody who has like a beach house, you can probably get a permit to have an event on the beach.
Definitely check into permits with like the state parks and everything like that.
I have this unique category, your zoos.
I love zoo weddings. I have never been to one. If you were a bride and you're having a zoo wedding, invite me. For the very modern, the modern chill couple, breweries, botanical gardens are a great option as well. You don't have to pay a florist because it's all decorated. There's butterflies flying around. It's beautiful. Yes, release your butterflies instead of a dove release.
Other really unique ones, I mean, I kept talking about the castle, but like mansions and like the Biltmore, where you can also go to a college campus. Berry College in Rome, Georgia has beautiful castles. Also, if you're like a diehard football fan, go and see if you can get married on their football field.
Destination weddings. I have made a list of destination weddings because if you don't know this by now, Teresa, I love traveling. So for a destination wedding, an option is like Hawaii beach weddings. That's very classic. A lot of people love the Hawaii beaches. Key West, Florida is also a great option.
The most beautiful sunsets in the whole entire world.
Also, if you're a party kind of girl, if you want to live it up, Las Vegas is a great one. New Orleans is also a really fun one. I was just talking to a bride the other day who's getting married in New Orleans, and they do a literal parade after your wedding.
Charleston, South Carolina, that is where I am from, or where I'm currently living. We are bumping with weddings all the time. If you need a florist in Charleston, Tiger Lily, and James Island, if you need anything in Charleston, like, let me know. I will hook you up.
If you're a wino, Tuscan, Arizona. Also a unique place to get married. There is Newport, Rhode Island, and somewhere not a lot of brides flock to. Typically, if they do a destination, it's not the first thing you think about. No matter where you are and no matter how you get married, you definitely want to make sure that you have a videographer and photographer there to capture that moment, because it's the one day in your entire life that you're getting married.
So Val Cinema has done so many weddings. We have provided services in 35 states. So we want to show you some of the photos of some of the venues that we've been that have fit into those categories that we mentioned earlier. So you can see this is a nice beach wedding. I love the aisle decor, like very elegant, very simple. This is in a church. You can see that it's very minimal floral arrangement, which I think is perfect because the church itself is so beautiful. And then we have, our backyard wedding. You can see the tents in the background, and this is really easy. You find somebody with a cute little backyard and bada bing, bada boom, have a wedding.
Make sure that you're buying chairs or renting chairs and tables and everything like that.
And then that last one, we have really the skyline of the city is beautiful. Her veil is beautiful. If you have not considered a veil, this is like the only time in your life you're probably going to wear one. So like,
at least try it on.
Try it on. You might like it. Who knows?
The value of DIY. I love that. With the floral arrangements and the flowers, if you DIY it, sometimes it can get pretty expensive just with anything, not just florals.
Just for the bridal bouquet alone, that's like between $200 and like $300. And then depending on how many bridesmaids you have, that's an extra $100 per bouquet for a bridesmaid. And then you got to consider the boutonnieres, the flower girl, centerpiece
arrangements. Yeah, it's a lot cheaper to make your own bouquets, but definitely compare the prices if you want to use real flowers, or you can use artificial flowers. I have my bouquet here for my wedding. It's artificial. I paid $20 and made it myself.
It's really easy to make your own flowers or your own bouquets. All you need is flower tape, ribbons, pins, the flowers. You can order that online, and then you guys can have a whole night of it and have a hangout session with bridesmaids making bridal bouquets. The next thing that you might want to consider making is the arbor.
So I had an arbor at my wedding, and my pop actually made it. It was just the simple 3-piece wooden arbor, and this all depends if you have the tools and the resources to do it. It can match like $300 or $500 to buy an arbor already and just like assemble it yourself. Or you can make it yourself for just like the price of lumber and stain. Also, welcome signs is another one. And you do calligraphy, so you can probably speak to this one more.
You can just buy a board at Hobby Lobby, and then you can hand write them. This is my secret to calligraphy. Write in cursive as best as you can, and anywhere there's a downstroke, go back and write over it and make that line thicker. That's it.
We'll have a calligraphy webinar too.
Oh, that'd be so fun. Okay.
Table numbers are also ordered as well with the table signs. And that's calligraphy typically, sometimes too. And with the invites too, if you think about it, the invites speaking of calligraphy.
Yeah, invitations get expensive. If you want calligraphy on all your invitations, expect to pay between $2 to $5 per envelope. You can also just write them yourself or get them on a sticker and on a label and put those on there.
Just gonna say, before we move on,
there's something we need to talk about.
We need to talk about this because we're guilty. In your invites, 2 things. Do not forget to order RSVPs and do not forget to order stamps. We just did this. We ordered like 200 cards. We forgot to buy stamps and budget for stamps, and
they're expensive.
Don't forget that in your budget.
With the RSVP cards, go ahead and put a stamp on that so they can easily mail it back. If you're looking for stamps online to order in bulk, don't go to stamps.com because it literally charges $1 per stamp, and stamps don't cost that much. Go to USPS.stamps.com or something like that. And then when you're doing your RSVP cards, you do want to provide a link. Also consider sending a card too for your older guests who are not used to with technology. So you want to be considerate of other people and just giving options. That's usually the best. And then I wanted to talk about the first dance.
So I actually was talking to a bride the other day that inspired this. They're surprising their guests with a first dance that they learned off of YouTube. I think this is a great tip.
Just fun.
Instead of, you think of your first dance and you're just kind of holding each other back and forth and swaying like you're in high school. But if you want to spice it up a little bit, hop on YouTube. There's a ton of tango videos and waltz dances to learn how to do this stuff yourself instead of paying.
And that's what all the kids are doing anyways now. They're learning their little dances on the TikTok.
TikTok.
So places not to cut costs. I personally would not cut costs on your DJ because that's where the party's at for me. Where would you not cut costs?
story time.
Oh God.
So I have some photography experience, and I had a good friend getting married, and I was just starting, and it seemed like a great idea. I was building up my portfolio, and they were on a tight budget. It was kind of like a win-win. The biggest tip I can say is do not hire family or friends to be your photographer, your videographer, or really any vendor. It was just subpar quality. Photography is one place you're going to cherish those photos and those videos forever. At the end of the day, I felt really bad that I couldn't produce the top-notch kind of photography that I think they had wanted. They kind of had subpar photos for the rest of their lives, and you can't redo that day. Put more money into the photography and videography. Those are the things that you're tangibly going to be taking home.
Hey, talk to us about cinema. Another place not to cut costs is your caterer. You want to make sure like no one in your family is cooking or that you're cooking up. You want to protect your friends and your family to just like be there and enjoy the moment instead of worrying about 6,000 different other things.
With catering, there's so many health related restrictions, keeping foods at the proper temperature, and you don't want your family friends to work on your wedding day.
We're going to recap really quick. Place not to cut costs: photography, caterer, and DJ. I'm very big on giving back. So I've thought of a few things about what to do with some of the things that you don't use after your wedding day. So say you have leftover food, I would definitely call a local church or food pantry or shelter and see where if you can donate like unopened, like covered good leftovers, right? With your bouquets, you can donate them to a nursing home or a children's hospital for somebody else to enjoy.
That will make someone else's day, and so worth it. So worth it to give back that way.
And also handwritten cards. Make sure you say thank you to your guests who got you gifts. Thank you to the vendors who did everything for you.
And that is vendors, venue, and value. Oh my.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Here's some ways you can connect with us. You can either look us up on the interwebs, valcinema.com. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram. You can check out some of our portfolios in our YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to that as well.
And just email me and talk to me about weddings. It's Carol at valcinema.com. CAROL, like a Christmas carol, at valcinema.com.
And I am Teresa, that's THERESA at valcinema.com. And we'll be happy to talk to you guys about anything wedding. It doesn't have to be just about video photography. Like, we're here for you to help you guys out any way you need. So we have our next episode, pros and cons of this and that. This is episode 4. That is coming to you on June 21st at 6 p.m. That's a Monday. And Carol, what are we going to talk about in this webinar?
We're going to talk about all sorts of things. We're going to talk about cash bar versus an open bar, plated versus a buffet, and several other things just like that. We're going to come up with several things to talk about. So we're super excited about that.
We're definitely excited to have you guys. Thank you for sticking around and watching and hanging with us this Monday night. We hope you guys have a Val Cinema day. Vendors, value, and vendors and venues and Val Cinema. Oh my.